Okay, I want you to see what the wheel of power and control looks like. In professional circles of psychological health and what they call mental illness, they call this the Duluth wheel. You can look it up. It's spelled Duluth, the Duluth wheel. Power and control has sexual in the center, but sexual on one side, and it has physical on the other. And this is what psychosexual assaults come from. The physical is a psychological piece, which I've mentioned before. And when you get a reading with me, you're contributing to our media activism about stopping this. So I'm going to do a series. It's going to be pretty long because there's using intimidation, using emotional abuse, using isolation, using minimizing of the individual by denying and blaming, using children, using dominance, using economic abuse, using coercion and threats. So I'm going to be using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 videos on this subject because folks usually come up on tarot card readings because they can't understand, you know, that they are victims of power and control. And they want a tarot card reading on, why. Okay? And tarot card readings will tell you why. And then for some people, if you want to get out, the I Ching Oracle, an I, which is pronounced E in China, where I've studied, and Japan, King, Ching, with the K sound, which I've showed you several times. Okay. Tells you how to release yourself. And meditation, which you hear in my chat room often, helps you understand each individual is different about what to release yourself from. And the I Ching, which comes from ancient China, and the wisdom of Confucius tells you exactly what the problem is that you need to release yourself from. And so when I do a reading, I have over 4,000 possible answers and combinations and steps in 21-day cycles so that 40 years later you're not having a resentment. The pain of abuse will stop your life down for your entire existence till you hit your grave. And you don't want to come back and try to work out each one of these things. So I want to look at intimidation here to start with. Using intimidation, making someone afraid by using looks, actions, and gestures. That's folks who call me up and say, what's going to happen if he leaves me? What am I going to do? Should I get a divorce? I had a reading the other night and someone had cancer. What am I going to do? I have cancer. I have kids. Okay, well, I say to you, here's a thought for those people who share this unfortunate situation. You're going to leave your kids in this wheel of power and control. It's a wheel that goes around and around and around. And so you don't get anywhere. You don't move forward. You don't grow, and it hits your core. All of this on the wheel. You can look it up. All of this, how you want your kids to get to next generation, the next generation, the next generation. Somewhere you got to stop the wheel and get off. Okay, that's a tarot card reading. That's your astrology reading with your birth date. Are you even with the right person? That's your numerology reading. How long is this going to take you? For instance, have you been married for 2 or 3 years or 20 years? How long does it take you to free yourself? There's prison and bondage. You can have the horrific experience of being in a physical prison. But more people have today the horrific experience of being in an emotional prison. And those are harder to get out of. And that's what we deal with in private readings. And that's why they should be private. You can compare that with the video on chat room etiquette and all the spirits and negative energies that want to keep you on the wheel so they can feed themselves with negative energy. But you feed yourself with positive energy. So each one of these will tell you how to jump off the wheel. But you got to know you're on it, and you got to know where you're at. And then that's the meditations I do. I will also do a series on a very powerful meditation that I have found that for some reason they took down off of YouTube. Fortunately, I grabbed it. I would advise you, if you see things on YouTube, to download it immediately because it may not be there. We don't use books or libraries anymore. We use the internet, and then they scooped everything off the internet, and a lot of the new books out there don't have the ancient wisdom, of our core when we were created. Those things haven't changed. So if you're suffering and you can't control it, I had another reading, and the poor woman, was being victimized by these looks, actions, and gestures, and she wanted a reading on how to make them stop. Well, if they're using power and control, they're not going to stop because that's what they're using. That's the tools. And what are your tools? Meditation, breath, pranic healing, the video on chakra. And then it says smashing things, destroying property, taking your house, taking your kids, abusing pets. For me, that's horrific. And displaying weapons or stories that give you mind problems. Okay, we can move on. Really, emotional abuse, which is what I really get most of all for tarot card readings. 13 cards. A lot of people call up about their exes. I get a lot of readings because at this time that this video is being done, it's the holidays. And so it's a big emotional abuse. I'm going to leave you, and you're not going to have a house. You're not going to have a place to stay. You're not going to have a family. I'm going to character assassinate you. Well, people do suffer for decades. We're only here for 80 years. We don't have decades to suffer because somebody's telling you you're terrible. I heard a wonderful spiritual thing today. Get a relationship with Jesus Christ. He died for everybody, whether you're a Christian or not. He didn't say you had to be a Christian at that time. It was different from the way the religions are set up today. Go with how he loved you enough to die for you. Don't go with the abusive partner who's threatening you, using intimidation, making you afraid. Go with Jesus Christ, who said that you were worth dying for, that you were worth living for. Okay? And then using isolation. Well, that's the big tarot card reading question I get. Will my ex come back to me? Okay, you're a victim of isolation. He's your ex for a reason. I ask many people, well, what was the reason you decided to divorce? What is the reason that this person actually is your ex? What happened? I mean, do you think that something's going to change when he comes back? But they want that comfort of familiarity. They're so afraid to move forward because their soul, the core, has been ripped and assassinated and empty. And it's a horrific feeling. The emotional abuse that people put their mask on every day before they go out can be hidden. But if you have a broken arm or a smashed face or a broken leg or knee, people can help you, but they can't help you with the secret of emotional abuse. And that's where we service you, you know, in private, never in a public chat room with all these spirits fighting, you know, to keep you in hell, you know, emotionally, So the making emotional abuse, putting someone down, making them feel bad about themselves, so bad that they believe that they can never find another marriage partner, or that by themselves their autonomy, that it's not better for them to do the mission why God put you on earth. Sure, you can come back and try it again. But if you don't get that whatever your mission was for God, that the next time you may not make it either. How many times you want to come back and dance on the head of this pen? Have you looked up in the sky and seen how many planets there are? There's a lot more going on. Name calling, which people try to hide. They don't want to admit it. Playing mind games. You're not good enough. Nobody else will love you except me. How about you? How about you loving yourself? Humiliation. No one would ever marry you if you can't make it with me, if you can't get into this family, you know, using isolation, you know. Well, I have to get along with him. His mother doesn't like me. His family doesn't like me. His sister doesn't like me. You know, uh, I got to sit here and be perfect while he goes out and has affairs, who they talk to, what they read, deliberate misunderstandings. You spoke clearly, but you have to call up and get a reading to be heard by a reader like me, to have compassion and love and empathy for you. Limiting outside involvement. That's the big fear. I'll never get married again. Well, you'll have to change from the lies I've just mentioned. Limiting outside involvement. See, how can you change if you don't have other people who can actually see you for the wonderful creature that you are? And this is men and women. Where they go in the jealousy, well, you can't have anybody else, men and women, but I can go and mess around and I'm going to leave you. If I find out that you've done what I've done, because I can do what I do, but you can't. Okay? Minimizing, denying, blaming, making light of the abuse, and not taking the concern seriously. This is where we take it up to the E King, which the E King is a psychic. You know, you cannot perform in life, if you're too depressed to get up and get education, to eat right, to get exercise, you know, saying the abuse did not happen. So folks call me up and I say, well, that's abusive. And they say, well, no, 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 because I need this love. Well, no, you need love and your own standards and in a partner who will support that, shifting responsibility. It's all on you to make it work, and if you don't have anybody, i.e., only me, who can do anything I want, then there's something wrong with you, and that's the laying blame. Using the children. Well, like the woman who had the cancer, I have children, I can't leave him, I must be abused for the sake of the children. No, you must not be abused for the sake of the children. You need to step off for the sake of the children. so they have opportunities so that you can be an example and see that they can do better. Okay? Using dominance, treating someone like a servant, that's everything I've ever said. Making all the big decisions, everything I've said, it has to be my way or you're no good. There's something wrong with you. If you can't do things all the way, my way, all the time, you never get a choice. You never get to say or do anything. Acting like the boss of the castle, being the one to define all roles, as if a lot of the women call me up and very intelligent women who can't seem to say, put their foot down and say, this is the way I think it should be. And they say, well, the relationship isn't right. Even though we're not on the eastern side of the planet, I'm in the United States of America. But women can still say, this is not right. This would be better for me. I would like to have you cook dinner tonight. Oh, no. You're a horrific wife. Using economic abuse. Well, we know about that. Well, you can't go to work. I go to work. You're making more money than I am. Preventing someone from working, making them ask for money. You have to stay with the children. Only I can have the money, and I worked hard, so I get to go out and play around. You don't have any money to play around. How many times have I been called at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning? Well, is he with somebody else? Because if he is, I'll kick him out. Well, if you think he's with somebody else, why ask me? Kick him out. Because even if you think he is, you're talking to me, not him. He's not there. I am here. I am at my house. You are at your house. You don't know where he is. And I get quite a few calls about where is he? Who is he with? Is he with his ex who has other kids? If you have to ask that, something's wrong, whether he is or not. Giving an allowance, taking all their money, no access to the family income, I decide, male or female, you know. And then finally, I actually got through this whole will using coercions and threats, making there or carrying out threats to hurt someone. I'm going to leave you. I'm going to sleep on the couch for 20 years, and you can't have another relationship because I'm standing here watching you. Okay? But he goes out and I'm getting readings in the middle of the night. Where is he? What is he doing? Who is he with? Does he care for his ex? Does he care for a new person? How many people has he had? I'm sitting here, I could be in a relationship. I mean, actual readings that I do. Okay? That's all abusive, threatening to leave. If he comes home and you're not there, but he was out and you didn't know where he was. Okay? Commit suicide. I don't get people telling me that too much. Report you to the police, welfare. Now I've had that one. What should I do? He's busting down the door. I'm trying to be independent. I'm trying to do the right thing, but he's going to take the kids away. We're going to court next week. How will that come out? Why? You shouldn't even have that in your life. Shouldn't even be a question, okay? Forcing charges to be dropped, forcing illegal behavior. And these are things that I workshop with people over several readings. That's why follow-up is important. Again, any reading you get with me, I have a lot of experience. I do media on stopping psychosexual assault. Women are not getting the care and the love, the physical touch, and the time that they need. So I call it psychosexual assault. There's no reason to rape anybody. There's no reason for you to stay home for domestic violence. But then again, it's not that simple. And that's why we have the tools that I have in my history about who I am and what I do in all these videos. Wheel of control. Get off it, jump off it. Duluth will. Duluth. Contribute to making the world a better place.